There are a few people who have earned the privilege of being banned by me. I just never mention them, never bring them up, or go out of my way to not talk about them at all. And one of them is Warren. I've despised her ever since she tried to say that Sanders was allegedly telling her in private that a woman couldn't win a presidential election. Just goofy stuff, all designed to make him look bad and make her look good. But she wrote an op-ed that I want to go through this article about. Senator Elizabeth Warren warned of profoundly serious consequences if former President Trump wins the upcoming election. Warren, in an op-ed published Saturday in the New York Times, criticized Trump for his non-answer to a question about repealing the Affordable Care Act during this week's presidential debate. After ducking and weaving, he came up with, "I have concepts of a plan." That's not a plan, Warren wrote. The Massachusetts senator said plans are important because they test ideas and the people advancing them. Plans reveal what and who candidates care about, she argued. And in a presidential race, if either party's nominee is asked about his or her plans for something as fundamental as health care, voters should get a straight answer, Warren wrote. Warren said Trump's health care plan has been on full display for years. She detailed how in 2017 Republicans tried to repeal the Affordable Care Act, and Trump hosted a party at the White House to celebrate. She said then Senator Harris, and other Senate Democrats worried as they voted and felt the weight of people's lives on the line. She argued that voters have decided they like what benefits the Affordable Care Act has given them, and that can be seen through the GOP's losses in 2018 and 2020. Republican lawmakers know this and have since smartened up, but Trump has not, Warren said. He seems to realize that his health care plans are deeply unpopular, so he simply doesn't talk about them, she wrote. Warren noted that it's reasonable for voters to want to know candidates' policy stances and plans. It's why Vice President Harris was pressed on her issues and recently released policy stances on her website, Warren argued, adding that Trump should also be held to the same expectation. As Ms. Harris has pointed out, Mr. Trump is not a serious man, and the concepts of a plan is a silly dodge. But as she also noted, a Trump presidency would have profoundly serious consequences, including life or death outcomes for millions of people who could lose access to health care. Again, I think Warren is a snake. I think she is not trustworthy. But I have to admit that this op ed, at least the pieces of it that are being recycled here by The Hill, I'm inclined to agree with. Now, of course, and we talked about this when we were talking about Nikki Haley and her goofy interview she did with, I believe that was Margaret Brennan. Republicans have been in this weird state where they feel like they can just get away with only talking about immigration and general comments about the economy. So you have not seen Republicans put forward a healthcare plan, like an actual healthcare proposal. Like, hey, look, we want to get rid of the ACA, and this will be our alternative. You have not seen that in over 6 years since Trump's first 100 days, when I think it was called the American Healthcare Plan. Since that fell through, they have completely abandoned this topic. They know that no proposal they come up with, which, I mean, like, we know what the Republicans' proposal is. They're going to take people off health care, whatever. People lose coverage. They know that nothing they come up with is going to be both appealing to voters and to the pharmaceutical companies who they're serving along with the Democrats. Um, and for this reason, they hope that they can just, again, talk about immigration, talk about the economy, just don't mention healthcare, and hopefully the voters will forget the topic exists as well. Now, one of the things that she said, which I thought was interesting, is where she mentions that Harris had called Trump like said he wasn't a serious man. This is during the debate where she called him that. Um, you can't, and this is a criticism of both of them. You can't call Trump not serious, but then fearmonger about him getting a second term. I mean, you say profoundly serious consequences if this not serious man reclaims the White House. Like, it doesn't. It's all just contradictions. They need to be better with their words. One other part of this that's interesting is that she mentions the voters, like basically that the 2018 midterm and the 2020 election were referendums on Trump's healthcare position, or I guess the Republican healthcare position. And I keep forgetting that ever since 2016, the Republicans have not had a good election cycle. Like they lost the House in 2018. They lost the White House in 2020. I think they lost the Senate as well. I could be wrong, but I know they lost the Senate in one of those two elections. And then in 2022, it's like they won the House back, but by a handful of seats. That's gotten even smaller because of McCarthy, stepping down and other stuff that's happened in the 2 years since. And I think the Democrats increased their majority by a seat. So they've really, since 2016, have had yet to have a single positive election cycle. And I think with the repeal of Roe v. Wade, with the fact that more and more Democrats are going, hey, so do you guys plan on ever addressing healthcare like at all? Are you gonna like keep not talking about this? The more that stuff keeps getting thrown around and getting pushed back in their faces of, look, people don't have coverage in a lot of cases. Are you either going to support a public option? Are you going to keep doing this private insurance crap? We know you're never going to, just fully go for single payer, but are you going to have some kind of compromise here? Their compromise is to just say nothing about it. And unfortunately, the media lets them get away with it. But no, Warren's article is I like the excerpts I read. The lady's a snake, but whenever a person you don't like makes a point that you think has some validity to it, I have a tendency to try to give credit, at least where that's concerned. Hopefully, um, more people, because like I said, Democrats, I have problems with them on this issue as well. The fact that most of them still want to keep the for-profit system going around, but I really hope that whether it's during this election cycle, which is almost over, we only have one more full month to go, but whether it's during this election cycle or the 2026 midterms, that more and more people start to get clued into just how screwed up the healthcare system in the United States is. It is abysmal, and it's a real damn shame that one of the two major political parties is able to just completely dance around talking about this topic with impunity. They can, as long as they sit there and talk about immigrants and the your we created this many jobs. They don't have to say anything about healthcare.